make of the strategy right now in terms of the Liberals' strategy to flip-flop on carbon tax?
It is something that is, I think, biting everybody. You've got to realize that inflation's real across the country. And then the Bank of Canada government confirmed at his hearing at the Finance Committee the other day that, in fact, yes, carbon tax does contribute to inflation. So there's a balance they have to strike here about what they're costing Canadians in this inflationary environment. I can say the carbon tax is one of those contributors, but this government has many economic policies that are causing inflation. Pardon me?
What do your constituents want in terms of affordability?
Well, my constituents, especially the people on fixed incomes, want to make sure that the money they put away their entire lives suits their retirement. Right now you've got rent going out of control, you've got food going out of control, and suddenly like the money they'd save for their retirement is suddenly not enough for them to sustain their entire retirement. This is one of the main things. These are the main people that are affected by inflation, and inflation has been rampant.
Can I ask you about immigration? Government is announcing today its new targets. Where do you think those targets should be?
You know, I'll wait to see what the minister says on that. But the issue, of course, is about the different types of immigrants we have. We have temporary foreign workers, we have permanent residents, we have students. So it's a mix that we have to look at here as far as what they're doing. And you know, increase is something that I think the minister has to consider, depending on which of those categories we talked about. So there's certain areas that are going to be big contributors. There's certain areas that, you know, have been notably, perhaps we need to look at some different way of bringing in people to Canada. What are we looking for as far as those new immigrants that will contribute to the economy, such as building houses? Because we do have a housing supply shortage at this point.
But what do you mean when you say that the minister should consider an increase? You think we should increase? Is that what you're saying? Just
what I'm saying is we need, so we did talk about those categories when you and I were just talking here. We did talk about those categories of immigrants that need to come into Canada. We need to fill the jobs that are available in Canada and make sure we're moving our economy forward and getting people here that want to come and contribute to the Canadian economy. Thank you. I think we need to know what we're looking for in immigration in Canada and make sure we're meeting those targets and make sure we're bringing families back together that are waiting for a long time. I mean, this has been a disaster for a while here, and we deal with immigration a lot in my Calgary office, and I'll tell you the backlogs are enormous. You've got to start solving the backlogs, not just creating more programs along the way that are contributing to backlogs in the other programs.
You said temporary foreign workers. Would you support more temporary foreign workers specifically for the trades as a category? That's something that you see?
Well, I think we need to come to a more complete solution at the end of the day. So temporary foreign workers, as you say, are temporary. We need to fill those jobs on a permanent basis. So if the temporary foreign worker is an interim step in that process, of course we've got to fill those jobs. But we need that economy to develop. We've got to make sure we have something going on and make sure we're meeting the needs of Canadians, particularly in the construction industry where we haven't been meeting those needs going forward.
You mentioned housing. Do you think that Canada has the capacity housing-wise to welcome new immigrants?
Well, capacity is something, I mean, you take a look at where that capacity is. So sometimes that's capacity in certain areas, and sometimes it's capacity in other areas. There is a discrepancy across the country in this respect, and we've got to make sure that we start meeting that as well. Where is the problem? How do we address that problem? Some of that problem is regional, and some of that problem is city by city. Some of that problem, of course, is caused by national policies. Coming to grips with those solutions is what the immigration minister has to put on the table, make sure he's meeting with his provincial counterparts, so that supply and that demand meet. And that's part of the job of actually coming to end-to-end solutions in government. And I hope he considers that when he gets here today. I better go into caucus here, but thanks everybody. Great talking to you.
John, this isn't the first time Conservatives have made the carbon tax in the electricity industry. What do you think would make the difference this time around?
People are feeling it. I think when it was $25 a ton, people weren't feeling it in their pocketbook. Now they can't afford groceries, they can't afford their heat, they can't afford homes. You know, when you feel it personally, I think Canadians have woken up with the impacts of the carbon tax. Now with Tim McLean saying yesterday eliminating the carbon tax would bring down inflation 16%. I think Canadians understand the impact of the carbon tax, and it's not meeting any emissions target, it's not doing anything it was intended to do. All it's doing is making life more affordable for Canadians. So I think if he wants to run an election on a carbon tax, we'll win.